Thanks for staying with us. Let's get you some national updates now. An uproar was heard in the parliament today over the latest WikiLeaks cables that reveal how the United States found the January 2006 reshuffle of the Manmohan Singh cabinet a pro-US exercise, mainly the transfer of Manishankar Iyer from the Petroleum Ministry. In a cable dated the 30th of January, 2 days after the reshuffle, David Mulford says the cabinet shuffle contained lots of good news, confirming the UPA government's determination to maintain rapid progress in the India-US relationship. The demotion of Iyer was the most significant indicator, and now the Congress leader has reacted, saying he's not surprised by Mr. Mulford's comments.
I was given temporary charge of the ministry. I was told explicitly that it is temporary charge. I had thought that maybe I'd be there for a week or two. As it is, I was there for 20 months. And so it is not surprising that at the first opportunity when the reshuffle took place, I was relieved of my temporary charge.
In more diplomatic cables on New Delhi put out by WikiLeaks, there's a candid conversation between former National Security Advisor M.K. Narayanan and US Envoy to India Tim Ramer. In fact, after a meeting with Narayanan in August 2009, Ramer concluded that Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was isolated within his own government in his great belief in talks and negotiations with Pakistan. Ramer noted that Narayanan readily conceded that he had differences with Dr. Singh on Pakistan. The advisor recounted to the ambassador how after the Prime Minister spoke of India's shared destiny with Pakistan, he said, "You have a great destiny, we don't." Ramer observed that though Narayanan's tough stance on Pakistan was well known, his readiness to distance himself from his boss, Manmohan Singh, would suggest that Singh is more isolated than we thought within his own inner circle. Suresh Kalmari, the former chief of the organizing committee of the Commonwealth Games, is being questioned for the second time by the CBI. The agency is investigating the overlays scam, where equipment was hired and bought at inflated prices. Kalmari's close aides in the organizing committee have been arrested in the past few months. Well, news coming in after the many quakes that Japan has been witnessing. Another strong aftershock of 6.0 magnitude has hit Japan. These tremors hit Japan's capital, in fact, already reeling under food and energy shortages after Friday's devastating tsunami. But with this, the nuclear crisis deepens in Japan. There's been a third explosion as well after that today, that started off at the Fukushima nuclear complex in Japan this morning, raising serious concerns about a nuclear catastrophe. But the Japanese authorities later informed the IAEA that the level of radioactivity has been decreasing at the site. Those living within 20 to 30 kilometers have been asked to leave, and until they do, they should stay indoors with doors and windows shut. The level of radiation had reached harmful levels after the explosion. In a televised address to the nation, the Prime Minister said radiation from the plant has reached harmful levels. And NDTV's Vishnu Shom visited Sendai in Japan. The well-developed city was completely washed off and devastated by the tsunami. He sent us this report from the affected area.
The sheer devastation that we've seen on the banks of the Notorigawa River in Sendai is very, very difficult to describe. Take a look at some of this. This is the manual of a Nintendo Wii video game console, and that's the box. I wonder if that belonged to a small child. My own son plays Nintendo Wii, and that looks like a vanity case. I wonder if it belonged to that little child's mother. And that looks like a dress, or maybe just a piece of cloth. But this is just one or two items in the wreckage of what looks like one house. It hardly looks like a house anymore. But if you look at the story of Sendai and the extent of the human tragedy and devastation over here, it's just incredible. Take a look at this. This entire area that you see in front of you, with the Pacific Ocean lying directly north, was all a human habitation, and this is all that exists of it. No one would ever think this is anything but a dump yard. What I can tell you is that this was a residential colony. It's all gone. Old memories, a lot of lives, a lot of property. This is the story of Sendai.
In fact, forget about the numbers. No one can accurately predict how many people would have died in an expanse as large as this. Not yet, by any rate. A short distance away, we see a handful of rescuers make their way through the rubble, trying to locate anyone who may miraculously be alive. As I drive along this road, the situation just seems to be getting worse. I meet a man looking to spot the remains of his home.
Many people die. Many, yeah. This used to be somebody's home. And if you look behind this, you can actually see one house that's almost completely submerged. And the field in the foreground strewn with wood. This isn't a dump yard for wood or debris. In fact, all this wood was once a home, or many homes in fact, just 48 hours back. Today it's an entirely wrecked, ruined area. The only sign that this was a residential area are a handful of cars which exist over here. And this is typically what a tsunami does. We've seen this in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands as well. Dagger type blows which come in and end everything, destroy everything in their wake, and then draw it all back out into the sea.
With aftershocks in Sendai are featured several times a day, and the majority of these are pretty major aftershocks. The situation here is very far from normalcy. Even as people try and piece together their lives, rebuilding parts of Sendai will take months, if not years. With Ranpal, Vishnu Shom for NDTV.
Meanwhile, evacuations are in full swing. People have moved to temporary shelters in Tamura and Soma in Fukushima. There is a lack of food and water at the camps. Indian IT companies like Infosys and TCS are also relocating its employees. While some are being recalled to India, others are being moved to other locations within Japan. Infosys Technologies is India's second largest software services exporter and has about 500 employees in Japan, of which 350 are from India. Well, staying with international updates, this time from Libya, reports now suggest that Colonel Muammar Gaddafi's forces are slowly pushing towards the main rebel-held towns in Libya. Ajdabiya, the last major town before the rebel base in Benghazi, came under heavy aerial attack. In the west, ground forces and tanks have begun shelling the town of Zuwara. Rebels say they have retaken Brega, but the government has denied the claim. Earlier, the UN Security Council met to discuss the imposition of a no-fly zone, but there was no consensus. Now, marking the first cross-border military operation to quell unrest since the Arab world's rebellions began in December, a military force from Saudi Arabia and other Gulf nations moved into Bahrain to shore up the nation's Sunni rulers in the face of escalating protests seeking to break the monarchy's hold on power. A convoy of military vehicles was seen driving across a causeway that links the tiny Gulf kingdom with Saudi Arabia. It is believed they are intended to guard key facilities such as oil and gas installations and financial institutions. Well, a state of emergency has been declared in Bahrain. We spoke over the phone line with a resident there, Mr. Anil Nair. He spoke to us about the situation this evening and said that there was not a reason to panic as of yet.
There are some low-intensity skirmishes that are being reported through the island, and a state of emergency has now been declared a couple of hours ago. I guess the reaction to that is going to play out over the next few days. Most businesses are either closed or going at half pace. So yeah, the situation is very, very fluid. I guess most expatriates and, in fact, the Bahrainis themselves are taking precautionary measures, stocking up on essentials and not traveling unnecessarily. But beyond that, a blind sense of panic definitely is not there, I have to say. People are being cautious, and it's a bit of a wait and watch. Do keep in mind that this has been going on for the last 4 weeks, and it's only over the last couple of days that it's again escalated. So people have sort of got used to what's happening. But the next few days is going to be very interesting to watch from where we are.
Up ahead on the news tonight, when the IPL Season 4 begins, Shah Rukh Khan's hips won't lie. After all, he'll be cheering the KKR alongside the cheerleader diva herself.